Welcome to Irons United. A very quick show, the Palace v West Ham preview. Thank you for watching on Christmas Eve. I'm the only one doing it tonight. I'm the only Sado that has agreed to do a video because everyone else is obviously having fun. So, it'll be very brief. West Ham play Palace on Boxing Day. We start the game 4 points behind them. For the first of our 4 games over a 10-day period. So it's going to be a very busy period for West Ham and for Irons United, because we'll bring you previews and reviews of all the games. Palace, they beat us 2-1 at home in October, when VAR played a major role in awarding them a goal right at the death. A goal that I don't think they deserved, but it was what it was. And in our past 13 games against them, in the Premier League, it's been relatively even, losing 4, drawing 4 and winning 5. But our last win there was October 2016 when Lanzini scored the only goal. And of course we should have beat them the following season in October 2017 when Zaha scored an injury time goal to secure a 2-2 draw. I don't know if you remember that game. It's when Antonio had the ball, he took it right up to the corner, and instead of holding on to it, he decided to cross it for some reason. Palace picked it up, they got it out quickly to Zaha, and he scored. Obvious really, wasn't it? Having said that, Palace are going into this game after a defeat against Newcastle at the weekend. But it's their first defeat in 5. So the last 5 games they've played, they've won 2, they've drawn 2, and they lost 1. But what they're doing is they're beating teams that are there or thereabouts around them in the league. You know, beating Burnley, Bournemouth, drawing against Watford and Brighton. So they're kind of holding their own, and they're doing what they need to do against the teams around them, which is what we should be doing as well. But I would say, in general, apart from the defeat against Newcastle, they'll be going into this game with a bit of confidence. In the season so far, they've played 18 games. They've won 6, they've drawn 5, scoring 15 and conceding 20. But they've got an impressive 6 clean sheets, which is no mean feat really. They're 12th in the league, as I mentioned. They're 4 points in front of us, but they have played a game in hand. That's because our opponents at the weekend decided to play some Mickey Mouse Cup in the middle of nowhere against a Brazilian team. But anyway, as far as their squad is concerned, they've got a number of injuries. Andros Townsend, Scott Dan, Jeffrey Schlupp and Gary Cahill are all going to miss the London derby. So they've had to play Kayati in as a centre-back, an emergency centre-back. So they do have a few problems with the squad, and something that Hodgson has said he wants to address in the January transfer window. But having said that, there's still players that we need to look out for that can be dangerous. Jordan Ayew, Wilfried Zaha. He seems to enjoy playing against us, doesn't he? You know, we wind him up, the fans, and he rises to that and ends up scoring goals against us. And of course, their midfield, McCarthy, Camarasa, up front, Benteke, Connor Wickham. So they do have a number of dangerous players. So we've got to look out for them. We've got to be careful. I think it's going to be a tight game, but I think there'll be goals in the game. But what about us? Well, some good news about our injury updates. We know Fabianski is close to returning. We know Anderson is back from his illness, and Lanzini is also back in contention. So we're likely to have a very good, strong, exciting bench for the game against Palace. And it's just the right time for us, isn't it, for all these players coming back. But we are aware of the keeper dilemma. Now, Pellegrini hasn't said that Fabianski is 100% fit. We know that Martin is also potentially not 100% fit. So we don't quite know who's going to play in goal for West Ham. Of course, we're all praying that it's going to be Fabianski. Failing that, we're hoping that it's going to be David Martin. But there is the chance that Roberto could be called back into the team. You know, it is what it is, and I think as fans we're going to have to support him. You know, I just think every game that Roberto's been playing, yes, he's been awful. We all know that he's been terrible. But I think this sort of this jeering of Roberto, this sort of like this fake cheering every time he catches the ball or whatever, I don't think it's helping the players' confidence. Yes, guys, I know he's an awful keeper, but I just think we're just going to have to do something to try and support him if he gets picked. So we'll see what happens on that. I think Pellegrini's keeping his cards close to his chest on that one. In defence, well, there is a change that is enforced on us because we know Fredericks is suspended for this game. So I think naturally you're thinking that it's going to be Zabaleta who will be replacing him. You know, he's a stalwart player, Zabaleta, but he was woefully found out against Newcastle a few weeks ago for his lack of pace. Now, if Zabaleta's picked, it's all going to depend on what formation and what tactics Pellegrini uses. If Zabaleta's picked, then we've got to go for a 4-4-2 or at least a 4-4-1-1. None of this 4-2-3-1 rubbish. You know, we need to be two solid banks of four. And I think that would certainly help Zabaleta in his defensive duties. Not play a high line, play a normal 4-4-2. Expect the midfield to sort of marshal the midfield so that we don't have to push our defenders too high up the pitch, because that won't suit Zabaleta one bit. And then Pellegrini's got to decide who he plays in front of Zabaleta, if it is Zabaleta that he plays. And for me, it's got to be one of two choices. It's either going to be Antonio or it's going to be Anderson. Now, I know a lot of people slate Anderson, but he does an awful lot of defensive work, if you notice, when he's played out on the left side. He's helped out his defender, whatever defenders played behind him, quite well throughout the season and throughout last season as well. For me, I would prefer it to be Antonio. I think Antonio's pace and his strength will certainly help Zabaleta combat the force that will be Wilfried Zaha. Now, there is another option, and I've been advocating it for quite some time, and that's Ben Johnson. Now, the last under-23 game was on the 16th of December when we beat Newcastle 4-0. Continuing the under-23's impressive season. And then the next under-23 games is not till the 6th of January. So I think this is an absolutely perfect time to bring Ben Johnson into the first team squad. In fact, it's a perfect time to bring another couple of other players as well into the first team squad. Connor Coventry, Scully up front, Anthony Scully up front. There's no reason why they shouldn't be sniffing around the first team squad whilst they've got this break in the under-23's fixtures. So for me, I would have the courage of my convictions and say I play Ben Johnson as a right back rather than Zabaleta. Nothing against Zabaleta. He's been a great player for us. He's had a fantastic career, but memories of Newcastle just sort of are too fresh in all our minds. So I think Ben Johnson would actually be a better right back replacement to Fredericks than Zabaleta. But we'll see what happens, and we'll see what Pellegrini decides. Now, there are no other defensive injuries that we're aware of, so that's good for us. As for midfield, well, we still have the absence of Jack Wilshere, and it was confirmed in Pellegrini's press conference that he's going to be out for a bit longer than anticipated. But he's also confirmed that, and I mentioned a moment ago, that Lanzini's back. So that gives us strength in depth there. And I think for me, I think the four midfielders in the Palace game are likely to be Antonio, Noble, Rice and Fornals. As I said, I would play Antonio as a right midfielder. Now, I know you'll all be saying, yeah, but look how good he was playing up front with Allaire, creating space, etc. I'm aware of that, but you're going to have to sacrifice something. And I just think, dependent on what happens with the right back slot, I think Antonio should play as right midfield. And then up front, I would bring back Anderson to play alongside or just off Haller. And that means dropping Snodgrass to the bench. I don't think Snodgrass had a great game against Southampton, to be honest with you. He seemed a little bit off colour, and I think he should be rested. And I'm sure not only him, but also the other players in the squad are going to be utilised over the next 4 games anyway. I hope Pellegrini sticks to what he did against Southampton. I hope he sticks to a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1. You know, we're much more solid than a 4-2-3-1 formation. And I think if he plays a 4-2-3-1, I think we're going to suffer against Palace. And that's it, really. I think it's going to be a good game, actually, I reckon. I'm going, as I said in my last show on Sunday, if you see me there, do say hello. I might have the microphone with me, and we might ask you for your views on the game afterwards. And result, I'm going for a 2-1 West Ham. I think they'll score against us, but I'm going for a 2 or even a 3-1. I'm confident. I'm confident that we're going to win on Boxing Day, and we look forward to it. So, enjoy the game. For those of you travelling up there, there are trains running, apparently to Norwood Junction from Canada Water, so you can get there, and there's some restricted service to Selhurst itself. So enjoy the game. We'll see you there. Come on, you irons, and we'll look out for the review after the game. Thank you.